Melissa Wilson's apartment in Westbrook perfectly mirrored her life, impeccable, functional, and empty. The glass walls offered a panoramic view of Portland that should impress any visitor, but she hadn't received anyone in months. At 35, she had achieved everything she had planned. A brilliant career as commercial director of a multinational corporation, an enviable portfolio, and the respect of all her colleagues. However, on that Christmas Eve, as she watched the city lights begin to twinkle, she felt an emptiness that no year-end bonus could fill. "Another Christmas alone," she murmured to herself, adjusting the grey blazer she wore even at home, as if her executive outfit was armor against loneliness. The phone rang, breaking the silence. It was her secretary, reminding her of the meeting scheduled for the next day. Melissa hung up quickly, irritated by the interruption of her melancholic thoughts. A sudden memory struck her like lightning. Her mother, Carol, holding her small hand as they walked through Washington Square toward the church. "Let's light a candle so Santa knows where you live," her mother would say, smiling with that sweetness that Melissa missed every day. Since Carol had passed away, when Melissa was only 12, she had never set foot in a church again. Her father, devastated by grief, had become a distant man, and she had learned early that she could only count on herself. But that night, something drove her forward. Perhaps it was longing, perhaps loneliness, or simply the need to feel part of something bigger. She exchanged the blazer for a long, dark coat, took her car keys, and drove to the church near Washington Square, where she used to go with her mother. The temple was partially full, entire families occupying the central pews. Melissa chose a spot in the back, away from curious glances. The smell of pine and lit candles awakened dormant memories, making her eyes water. The choir began to sing Silent Night, and she closed her eyes, trying to relive those precious moments with Carol. That's when she heard it. A childish whisper coming from the front pews, so soft it almost blended with the murmur of prayers. Melissa leaned discreetly forward, trying to identify where that angelic voice was coming from. Between the pews, she glimpsed a little girl, kneeling, who couldn't have been more than 6 years old. Her brown hair was tied with 2 little red bows that perfectly matched the navy blue dress she wore. Her small joined hands trembled slightly as she prayed with her eyes closed. Next to the child, a man kept his head bowed. Melissa could only see his profile, but she noticed the cheap, wrinkled suit, the worn shoes, and especially the expression of profound exhaustion on his face. He was constantly taking deep breaths, as if trying to control his emotions. "Dear God, please send a mommy for my daddy," whispered the little girl, and Melissa felt her heart tighten. "He gets sad when he thinks I don't see him crying, but I do. I want him to smile again." The man placed his hand gently on his daughter's head, caressing her hair with so much love that Melissa felt tears stream down her face. There was something in that scene that touched her deeply, a purity and a pain that she recognized in herself. When the Mass ended, Melissa remained in her place, watching the father lift the girl in his arms with infinite care. They walked slowly down the central aisle, and she could see the smile he forced for his daughter despite his sad eyes. "Daddy, will the angel hear my prayer?" asked the girl, hugging her father's neck. "Yes, my princess. Angels always listen to good children," he replied, kissing his daughter's forehead tenderly. Melissa left the church with a transformed heart. For the first time in years, she had witnessed something that awakened in her a long-dormant feeling. The desire to care, to protect, to love. That night, she couldn't sleep, constantly thinking of those 2 strangers who unknowingly had changed something fundamental in her soul. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit like. Tell us what city you're watching from. We'll continue. Melissa woke the next morning with the sensation that something had changed in her life. The sun streamed through the panoramic windows, but she couldn't get the image of the little girl praying and the father trying to be strong out of her mind. During breakfast, normally dedicated to reading financial reports, she found herself staring into space, thinking about those 2 strangers. "I need to stop this," she murmured to herself, forcing herself to open her laptop. But with each line she read, she kept thinking about the child's desperate prayer. At 10 in the morning, she gave up trying to work and called Hannah, an old college friend who did volunteer work at the parish. "Hannah, do you know a man who attends Mass with a little, girl? He wears a dark suit. She has brown hair with little red bows." "Oh, you must be talking about Ryan and Emma. Poor things, they've been through very difficult times. Why do you ask?" Melissa's heart raced at hearing their names. "Just curiosity. I saw them yesterday at Mass and they caught my attention." Hannah, always willing to share stories, didn't need more encouragement. "Ryan Thomas is a hard-working man, you know. Since his wife passed away last year, he's been stretching himself thin to care for Emma. He works as a delivery driver during the day and does security at some events on weekends. They live in a small apartment in East Side." "What happened to his wife?" asked Melissa, trying to keep her voice casual. "Sarah fell down the stairs at home while hanging curtains. Ryan came home from work and found her unconscious. She didn't survive her injuries," Hannah sighed. "Emma was only 5 years old. Poor little thing, she still asks when Mommy is coming back." Melissa felt her chest tighten. "And how are they managing?" "Ryan never asks for help. He's very proud. But I notice he's always tired, sometimes comes to Mass directly from work, still in his delivery company uniform. Emma is a sweet child, but you can tell she misses a maternal figure." After hanging up, Melissa couldn't concentrate on anything else. She cancelled all her meetings for the day, something unprecedented in her career, and drove to a luxury supermarket. She put together a complete food basket: premium meats, fresh fruits, special milk for children, cookies, and even some educational toys. "Deliver to Ryan Thomas, apartment 203, Building B of Hope Residences," she instructed the store, along with this card. On the card she wrote simply, "Someone cares about you." Melissa spent the rest of the day anxious, imagining the girl's joy upon receiving the surprise. At 8 in the evening, her phone rang. It was Hannah. "Melissa, how strange. Do you know that Ryan refused a food basket today? He said it must have been delivered by mistake, that they weren't registered in any assistance program." "He refused?" Melissa couldn't hide the disappointment in her voice. "Yes, very proud, that man. He'd rather go without than accept help. I even tried to convince him it could be an anonymous donation, but he wouldn't even listen." Melissa hung up the phone, feeling strangely rejected. Why did it affect her so much? She didn't really know them. But there was something about that family that touched her deepest feelings. During the following week, Melissa tried to resume her normal routine, but constantly found herself thinking about Ryan and Emma. One night, after another, exhausting day of work, she had a disturbing dream. She was in a cozy house preparing dinner when a little girl ran to her shouting, "Mommy's home!" It was Emma, hugging her tightly while Ryan smiled in the background. She woke with her heart racing, cold, sweat running down her forehead. "This isn't normal," she said to herself, but she knew she wouldn't be able to simply forget those two. The following Sunday she returned to the church. She arrived early, sat in the same back pew and waited. When Ryan and Emma entered, she felt a shiver run through her body. The man looked even more tired, with deep circles under his eyes and hunched shoulders. Emma, however, was radiant, carrying a colorful paper in her hands. Throughout the Mass, Melissa observed the girl proudly showing her drawing to her father. When she could see it better, her heart almost stopped. The drawing showed 3 people: a tall man in a suit, a little girl in a blue dress, and a woman with her hair up in a bun wearing a long dress. The resemblance to Melissa was striking. "Daddy, this is the mommy that God is going to send us," whispered Emma, pointing to the female figure. Ryan smiled sadly, caressed his daughter's hair, and put the drawing in his backpack. "God knows what's best for us, my princess." Melissa left the church before they noticed her presence, but she carried the image of that drawing with her. That night, she made a decision that would change all her certainties about herself. Monday arrived with cold rain and a cutting wind that seemed to go through to the bone. Melissa could barely concentrate in meetings, her mind constantly returning to Emma's drawing. During lunch, she gathered her courage and drove to the East Side neighborhood, looking for Hope Residences. The contrast with her world in Westbrook was stark. Simple buildings, streets without proper asphalt, and children playing in small courtyards. Melissa stopped in front of Building B, observing the windows of the apartments. She imagined Ryan coming home tired from work, Emma running to hug him at the door. "Can I help you?" asked a woman who was sweeping the sidewalk. "I'm looking for information about apartment 203, Melissa improvised. "I was thinking about renting a place in this area." The woman observed her curiously, clearly noting that Melissa didn't belong in that environment. 203 is Ryan's, but he doesn't plan to move. Hard-working man, dedicated father, spends all day on the streets to support his little daughter. What does he work as? Food delivery mainly, stays out until late at night driving around the city. On weekends he does security at some events. Poor thing, since his wife passed, he's had no rest. Melissa thanked her and returned to her car, but couldn't leave. She stayed watching the movement of the building, hoping to see Ryan and Emma arrive. At 6 in the evening, she gave up and went home, but the image of that simple and humble reality wouldn't leave her mind. On Wednesday, Hannah called with worrying news. "Melissa, you asked about Ryan last week, right? I heard he lost his security job. The mall cut third-party workers to reduce costs." "He lost his job?" Melissa felt a knot in her stomach. "Now he only has income from deliveries. I don't know how he'll manage to pay the bills. The worst part is that he won't accept help from anyone." Melissa hung up the phone in panic. How would a single father support a daughter with just a delivery driver's salary? That same afternoon, she drove to a bank and transferred $3,000 to the building manager, with specific instructions. Anonymously pay the overdue rent for apartment 203. Meanwhile, Ryan was facing the worst week of his life. He had lost his security job on Monday, and since then had been working 16 hours a day making deliveries, trying to compensate for the loss of income. Emma spent the afternoons at Mrs. Martinez's house, who took care of the girl for free. "Daddy, why are you always tired?" Emma asked one Thursday when he got home at 10 at night. "Daddy is working a lot to buy good things for you, my princess," replied Ryan, hiding the desperation in his voice. The money barely covered basic food, and he knew he wouldn't be able to pay the rent for the month. On Friday, a storm punished Portland. Ryan was on his 12th delivery of the day when he stopped at a traffic light near Riverside Mall. The rain was beating hard on his helmet visor, and he could feel his body aching from the cold. Emma was sleeping on the back seat of the motorcycle, wrapped in a worn blanket, wearing the small helmet he had bought for her. It was at that moment that Ryan broke down. The tears mixed with the rain on his visor, and he cried silently, watching his daughter sleep. How could he explain to a 6-year-old child that they might have to leave their apartment? How could he say that the money wasn't enough? "God give me strength," he murmured, wiping his eyes with the sleeve of his soaked jacket. On Saturday morning, Ryan went to the building management to try to negotiate the overdue rent. He was prepared to beg, to set his pride aside for his daughter. "Mr. Thomas," exclaimed the manager, smiling. "Good thing you came. I have good news. Someone paid your overdue rent." "What do you mean?" Ryan frowned, confused. "A person made an anonymous deposit yesterday, paying 3 months of rent. They said it was for apartment 203. Do you have any idea who it might have been?" Ryan remained silent, his heart racing. It must be a mistake. Nobody would do that for us. It wasn't a mistake. The person specifically asked not to reveal their identity, but they knew your name and apartment number. Ryan left the management office completely confused. Who could have done that? He had no relatives with financial means, and his few friends were in the same situation as him. At home, Emma was playing with old dolls on the living room floor when her father arrived. "Daddy, are you happy?" asked the girl, noticing a different expression on Ryan's face. "Someone very good helped Daddy today, my princess." "I know who it was," Emma smiled angelically. "It was the angel I asked God for. He's preparing our new mommy." Ryan hugged his daughter tightly, feeling a mixture of gratitude and unease. Who was this mysterious person who had appeared to help them? And why did he feel that this help would change their lives definitively? The second week of January brought intense cold to Portland. Ryan was working more than 14 hours daily, trying to save every penny for the uncertain future. Emma, who had always been a healthy child, began to develop a persistent cough that worried her father. "It's just a cold, my princess," Ryan would say, covering his daughter with more blankets. But deep down he knew the situation was worsening. The girl coughed throughout the night and he couldn't sleep properly. On Wednesday, Emma woke up with a high fever. Ryan measured her temperature, 102.5 degrees. He cancelled all his deliveries for Ike's the day and rushed with his daughter to the neighborhood clinic. After 3 hours of waiting, the doctor examined the girl and made a worrying diagnosis: pneumonia. "She needs to be hospitalized immediately," said the doctor, looking at the X-ray. "I'll make a referral to Grace Memorial Hospital." Ryan felt the world crumbling down. He carried Emma in his arms to the motorcycle, her delirious with fever, calling for the mother who would never return. During the journey to the hospital, he prayed as he had never prayed before. "Daddy, where's the mummy from my dreams?" asked Emma, with a weak voice. "She's coming, my princess. Everything will be all right." At the hospital, Ryan faced the bureaucracy of the healthcare system, filling out endless forms while Emma slept restlessly in his arms. The delay in getting a bed was agonizing, and he felt completely powerless watching his daughter suffer. At 10 at night, they finally got a room in the pediatric ward. Ryan settled Emma in the hospital bed, adjusted the blankets and held her small hand. The girl slept with difficulty, breathing with effort. "Don't leave me alone, Daddy," whispered Emma during a moment of lucidity. "Never, my princess. Daddy is here." Meanwhile, Melissa was at home, finishing overdue reports when Hannah called. "Melissa, you need to know. Ryan's daughter is hospitalized at Grace Memorial with pneumonia. Poor thing, it's very serious." Melissa's heart stopped. Pneumonia? When did this happen? This morning. Ryan is desperate, hasn't left her bedside. The child is delirious, calling for her mother. Melissa hung up the phone in shock. Without thinking twice, she grabbed her car keys and drove to the hospital. It was almost 11 at night when she arrived, and she stayed in the parking lot for several minutes, not knowing what to do. "I'm a stranger to them," she thought. "I can't simply show up." But something greater than her reason propelled her into the hospital. She went up to the pediatric ward and discreetly asked at the reception about Emma Thomas. "Room 307, informed the nurse. "Visiting hours are over, but the father is accompanying her." Melissa walked slowly down the corridor, her heart beating hard. When she approached the room, she saw Ryan through the glass window. He was sitting in an uncomfortable chair beside the bed, holding Emma's hand with a devotion that deeply moved Melissa. The girl seemed so small and fragile among the medical equipment. Her skin was pale, contrasting with the brown hair spread across the pillow. Ryan spoke softly to her, even knowing she was unconscious. "Mommy is coming, my princess. She'll take care of you, you'll see. Daddy has asked her to come so many times that she can't be late." Melissa felt tears stream down her face. That scene touched a part of her soul that she didn't even know existed. She stayed there, leaning against the corridor wall, observing in silence. At 2 in the morning, Ryan dozed off in the chair, exhausted. Emma moved restlessly in the bed, murmuring incomprehensible words. Melissa discreetly entered the room, approached the bed, and instinctively placed her hand on the girl's forehead. Her skin was too hot. "Mommy?" whispered Emma, without opening her eyes. "Shh, everything's all right," Melissa responded softly, stroking the child's hair. "Rest, you're protected." Emma smiled slightly and seemed to relax. Ryan woke with the movement and found himself facing an elegant woman, with her hair up in a bun, wearing a long navy blue coat. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. "I'm sorry," said Melissa, frightened at being caught. I was passing by the corridor and heard her calling." Ryan observed her carefully. There was something familiar about that woman, but he couldn't identify what. "Are you a nurse?" "No, Melissa hesitated. "I'm just someone who cares." At that moment, a nurse entered the room to check Emma's vital signs. "The fever has dropped a little," she announced, smiling. "I think she's responding well to the treatment." Ryan breathed in relief. When he turned to thank the mysterious woman, she had disappeared. He wondered who that stranger was, who had brought a sense of peace to his daughter's room. From the corridor, Melissa observed the scene with a broken heart. For the first time in her life, she felt that she had found her true purpose. It wasn't just professional success or money that she was seeking, but the chance to be part of a family, to be needed by someone. That dawn, she made a decision that would change everything. Melissa spent the night awake, thinking about what she had experienced at the hospital. The sensation of having touched Emma's forehead, of having heard the girl call her mommy, had stirred feelings she didn't know she possessed. For the first time in years, she woke up without wanting to go to work. The next day, Ryan remained at the hospital from dawn. Emma had improved during the night, but was still weak. He told his daughter about the angel lady who had appeared in the room. "Was she beautiful, Daddy?" asked Emma, her eyes still tired. "Very beautiful. She had dark hair tied back and a blue coat, like in your drawing." Emma's eyes lit up. "It was her, Daddy, the mommy I asked God for." Ryan smiled, thinking they were fever ramblings. "Maybe, my princess. Let's focus on you getting better first." In the afternoon, Melissa couldn't resist and returned to the hospital. She bought a bouquet of yellow flowers and some children's books, but was uncertain about how to approach the situation. She decided to go to the hospital cafeteria first. She needed courage. That's where she found Ryan. He was sitting alone at a corner table, stirring a cold coffee, with an expression of deep concern. Melissa took a deep breath and approached. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly. "Are you the father of the girl in room 307? Ryan raised his eyes and immediately recognized the woman from the previous night. "You're the lady who was in my daughter's room yesterday?" "I am. My name is Melissa Wilson." She extended her hand, which he gently shook. "May I sit?" "Ryan Thomas," he responded, gesturing to the chair beside him. "Of course, make yourself comfortable." Melissa sat down, trying to find the right words. "How is your daughter?" "Better, thank God. The doctor said she responded well to the treatment. She should be discharged tomorrow or the day after." "What a relief. She's a very special child." Ryan observed her curiously. "Excuse the question, but do you know us? I have the impression I've seen you before." Melissa felt her heart race. "I attend the church at Washington Square. Perhaps you've seen us there." "Ah, yes, we take Emma every Sunday. She loves the Mass." Ryan relaxed a bit. "But I still don't understand why you're interested in us." "Sometimes, certain people touch our hearts without explanation," responded Melissa sincerely. "When I heard your daughter was hospitalized, I felt I should come." Ryan lowered his eyes. "It's been difficult raising her alone. Since it's been just the two of us, everything seems more complicated." "I can imagine. But you're a dedicated father. Anyone can see that." "I try to be. Emma is everything I have in the world," he sighed. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm managing, if she doesn't miss a maternal figure." Melissa felt a pang in her chest. "I'm sure you're doing a wonderful job. She seems like a happy and loved child. Yesterday, when you appeared in the room, she seemed to calm down immediately. She said you were the dream mommy she had asked God for." "She said that?" Melissa could barely disguise her emotion. "Emma has a fertile imagination. Since she was little, she's been saying God will send a new mommy for us. She draws a woman who, strangely, looks a lot like you." Melissa swallowed hard. "And you? Do you believe in your daughter's dreams?" Ryan was silent for a moment. "I don't know. After Sarah passed, I focused only on working and caring for Emma. I never thought about other possibilities." "Sometimes possibilities find us when we least expect them," said Melissa softly. They were interrupted by a nurse's arrival. "Mr. Thomas, your daughter is awake and asking for you." Ryan stood up immediately. "Thank you, I'll go up now." Melissa also stood. May I come along? I brought some things for her." Ryan hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Of course, I think she'd be very happy." They went up to the room together. When Emma saw Melissa enter, her eyes lit up like two suns. "New mommy," she shouted, extending her little arms. "Emma, You can't shout like that. You're in the hospital, Ryan gently reprimanded. But it's her, Daddy, the lady from my drawing. Melissa approached the bed, emotional. Hi, Emma, I brought some things for you. Yellow flowers, my favorite color, exclaimed the girl, clapping her hands. How did you know? Asked Ryan, surprised. Female intuition, responded Melissa, winking at Emma, who laughed heartily. Ryan observed the interaction between the two with a strange feeling in his chest. There was something natural in the way Melissa related to his daughter, as if they had known each other for a long time. Are you going to stay with us now? Asked Emma, holding Melissa's hand. I don't know, dear. That would depend on your... Daddy. Emma turned to her father with her big, bright eyes. Please, Daddy, can she stay? Ryan looked at Melissa, who returned the look with an expression of hope and vulnerability that he had never seen before. At that moment, something changed between them, a silent understanding that this meeting was not mere coincidence. We can talk about it, said Ryan, and Melissa smiled for the first time since entering the hospital. Emma fell asleep a few minutes later, holding Melissa's hand. Ryan observed her caring for his daughter with a naturalness that surprised him. Perhaps Emma's dreams weren't so impossible after all. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit like. Tell us what city you're watching from. We'll continue. Emma was discharged on Friday, and Melissa insisted on taking them home. During the journey, she observed Ryan in the passenger seat, clearly uncomfortable in the luxurious interior of her imported car. Emma, in the back seat, played fascinated with the electronic controls. Daddy, why doesn't our car have these buttons? Asked the girl innocently. Ryan blushed. Because each car is different, my princess. Melissa noticed his embarrassment and changed the subject. Emma, how about... We stop at an ice cream shop. You can choose any flavor you want. Really? Can I choose 2 flavors? You can choose 3 if you want. Ryan intervened gently. Melissa, you don't need to... I want to, she interrupted him, looking at him through the rearview mirror. Let me spoil her a little. At the mall, Melissa observed how Ryan and Emma behaved outside their element. They walked hand in hand, admiring the storefronts with a mixture of curiosity and shyness. Emma was enchanted by a toy store, but when she pointed to a doll, Ryan whispered that it was just for looking. May I buy it for her? Melissa asked, discreetly. No, thank you. I don't want her to get used to things I can't provide. Melissa respected this, but kept that information in her heart. She understood that Ryan had pride and that the socio-economic difference between them would be an obstacle. On Monday, Melissa visited their apartment for the first time. The contrast with her penthouse in Westbrook was stark, but there was something in the environment that her house lacked: human warmth. The walls were decorated with Emma's drawings. There were photos of the family scattered throughout the living. A room and the smell of home cooking came from the kitchen. Sorry about the mess, said Ryan, hurrying to arrange the cushions on the simple sofa. It's not messy, it's alive, responded Melissa sincerely. Emma proudly showed her room full of simple but well-cared-for toys. Daddy made this dollhouse for me, she said, pointing to a clearly handmade wooden construction. Your daddy is very talented, said Melissa, impressed by the care put into the work. He does everything for me, even hairstyles. Ryan blushed again. I'm not very good with women's hair. I can teach you some techniques if you want, offered Melissa, and he smiled shyly. During dinner, Melissa helped in the kitchen, surprising Ryan with her culinary skill. I thought executive women didn't cook, he joked. I learned from my mother when I was little. After she was gone, cooking made me feel close to her. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. And I'm sorry for yours too. They looked at each other for a moment, sharing the pain of loss. Emma, unaware of the serious conversation, continued playing with the kitchen utensils. After dinner, Ryan put Emma to bed. Melissa heard him telling an invented story about a brave princess who lived in a castle made of clouds. The girl laughed and asked questions, and Ryan answered with infinite patience. She adores you, commented Melissa when he returned to the living room. She's my entire life. Everything I do is thinking of her. How lucky she is. Not every child has such a dedicated father. Sometimes I wonder if it's enough, if she doesn't miss having a mother. Melissa moved closer to him on the sofa. Ryan, you're an amazing father. Emma is a happy child, anyone can see that. Thank you, he said, looking deeply into her eyes. You've been very special to us. You're special to me, too. There was a moment of tension between them, a growing attraction that both felt but didn't know how to handle. Ryan moved away slightly. Melissa, I need to be honest with you, we're from very different worlds. I work 12 hours a day to pay rent that's less than your phone bill. You're a successful executive, I'm a delivery driver. I don't want you to feel obligated to... Obligated to what? She interrupted. To pretend this can work, to play family, with us. Melissa felt as if she'd been slapped. You think I'm playing? I don't know what to think. You appeared out of nowhere, helped us without asking for anything in return. Treat my daughter as if she were yours. That's not normal. Maybe it's not normal, but it's genuine. I've never felt so complete as I feel with you. Ryan sighed. Melissa, you're a wonderful woman. Any man would be lucky to have you, but I have nothing to offer except financial problems and a daughter who needs a lot of attention. And you think that matters? To me, it should matter. You deserve someone from your social class, someone who can give you what you're accustomed to. Melissa stood up, hurt. You don't understand anything about what I want or need. Then explain it to me. I want a family. I want to wake up in the morning and prepare breakfast for people I love. I want to help a child with homework. I want to have someone waiting for me at home. I want to feel needed, not just successful. Ryan remained silent, processing her words. My life is empty, Ryan. I have money, success, recognition, but I have no one. You've given me something I didn't even know I was looking for. And if you get tired, if you discover that reality is different from what you imagine? And what if you stop being afraid and give me a chance to prove my feelings are genuine? Ryan looked at her for a long time. I need to think. Melissa picked up her purse and headed to the door. All right, but don't take too long. Some opportunities in life don't repeat themselves. Ryan stayed alone in the living room, looking at the photos of Sarah scattered throughout the house. For the first time since she had passed, he wondered if it wasn't time to move on. Melissa spent the following week immersed in work, trying to forget the conversation with Ryan. She cancelled unnecessary meetings, signed contracts without her, usual review, and responded to emails mechanically. Her secretary, Monica, noticed the change. Melissa, are you okay? You seem distant. I'm great, just focused on new projects. But in truth, Melissa was devastated. For the first time, she had completely opened up to someone, and Ryan had rejected her, or at least questioned her intentions in a way that deeply hurt her. Ryan, for his part, couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. Emma noticed her father was different. Daddy, isn't Miss Melissa coming to visit us anymore? She asked on Thursday, while Ryan was helping her with homework. I don't know, my princess. She has important work. But I miss her. She's exactly like the mommy in my drawing. Ryan sighed. Sometimes people appear in our lives for a short time just to teach us something. That's silly, Daddy. She came to stay, I'm sure. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan went to the bedroom and opened the drawer where he kept Sarah's photos. He picked one in particular, the two of them on their first date at a friend's party. Sarah wore a simple blue dress, her brown hair loose, smiling shyly at the camera. What would you do in my place? He asked the photo as if Sarah could answer. On Friday, Ryan made a decision. After dropping Emma at school, he drove to the building where Melissa worked. He had never been in such a sophisticated corporate environment and felt intimidated by the luxury of the lobby. I'm here to see Melissa Wilson, he said to the security guard, who looked him up and down, clearly judging his simple appearance. Do you have an appointment? No, but it's personal. Tell her it's Ryan. After a call, the security guard directed him to the elevator. 12th floor, ask for Monica. Melissa's office was impressive. Glass walls, panoramic view of the city, elegant furniture, and a huge desk covered with papers. She was on the phone discussing numbers and deadlines with an authority Ryan had never seen. When she saw him, Melissa quickly ended the call. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk. About us." Melissa closed the office door and approached him. "If you came to repeat that we're from different worlds, you don't need to. I already got the message. I came to tell you something I've never told anyone." She observed him carefully. "I'm listening." Ryan took a deep breath. "When Sarah and I met, I was an office boy at a small company. She was the owner's daughter. Everyone said it wouldn't work, that she would tire of me." "And did it work?" "For 5 years. But I always felt I had to prove I deserved to be with her. I worked twice as hard to get a better position. Took evening, technical courses, strived to be worthy of her love. You were always worthy, Ryan. When she got pregnant, she promised our child would have everything she had. Own house, private school, trips. I agreed, even knowing it would be difficult." Melissa began to understand where he was going. "After Emma was born, I started working even more. Sarah complained that I didn't have time for the family, but I said it was for our future. The night of the accident, we had argued about money. Ryan, she wanted me to accept financial help from her parents. I refused, said I could manage on my own. I left the house angry, went to work an extra shift as a security guard. When I returned, she was on the living room floor, unconscious." Ryan cried silently. "If I had stayed home, if I hadn't been so proud, maybe she wouldn't have tried to hang those curtains alone." Melissa approached and touched his arm. "It wasn't your fault. I promised her, in the hospital, that I would never put pride ahead of family again. But when you appeared, doing everything I can't do for Emma, I felt I was failing again. You're an amazing father. Emma is proof of that. I'm afraid, Melissa. Afraid of falling in love with you and discovering I'm not enough. Afraid of Emma getting used to you, and then you deciding this life isn't for you. And I'm afraid you won't give me the chance to prove my feelings are genuine." Ryan moved closer to her, looking deeply into her eyes. "Do you really want this? A simple life with financial problems, a child who will demand a lot from you? I want you, everything else is just detail." They were about to kiss when the door opened. Monica entered without knocking, followed by a man in an expensive suit. "Melissa, sorry to interrupt, but Mr. Vanderbilt is here for the meeting, Marcus." Vanderbilt was a partner in the company, a 50-year-old man recently divorced, who had been showing interest in Melissa for months. Seeing Ryan in the office, his look became suspicious. "Melissa, I didn't know you had visitors." "Marcus, this is Ryan Thomas, Ryan Marcus Vanderbilt." The two men greeted each other coldly. Marcus observed Ryan with a look that made clear what he thought about his presence there. "Well, Ryan, it was a pleasure to meet you," said Marcus, clearly implying that the conversation was over. Ryan got the message. "I need to go anyway. I have to pick up my daughter from school." "Your daughter?" Marcus raised an eyebrow, looking at Melissa. "Yes, I have a 6-year-old daughter," responded Ryan with pride, then turned to Melissa. "Thank you for the conversation. I'll think about what we discussed." After Ryan left, Marcus approached. "Melissa, interesting company. I didn't know you were interested in that type of man." "What type?" asked Melissa, irritated. "Simple men. I thought you had higher standards." "My standards are different, Marcus. I look for character, not bank account." "I hope you're not making a mistake, Melissa. Men like that are usually interested in women like you for obvious reasons." Melissa felt a fury growing in her chest. "I think we'd better focus on the meeting." But Marcus's words had planted a seed of doubt in her mind. Was Ryan really interested in her, or just in what she could offer? Marcus's words echoed in Melissa's mind throughout the weekend. She found herself analyzing every gesture of Ryan's, every word, looking for signs of financial interest. Doubt, once planted, grew like a weed. On Monday, Ryan called her at the office. "Melissa, I thought about what we discussed. I'd like to try if you still want to." "Of course," she responded, but her voice sounded less enthusiastic than expected. "Is everything okay? You sound different." "I'm just tired, too much work." "How about we have dinner together tomorrow? Me, you and Emma. I can cook for you." "You don't need to bother. I can bring something ready-made." "No, I want to cook. I make a delicious stroganoff." Melissa hung up with a strange feeling. Why did Ryan insist on cooking when she could easily pay for dinner at any restaurant? Marcus's words returned to her mind. On Tuesday, Ryan spent the entire day preparing dinner. He bought the best ingredients his budget allowed, meticulously, cleaned the house and even bought cheap flowers to decorate the table. Emma was euphoric. "Daddy, is Ms. Melissa going to be our new mommy?" she asked, helping to set the table. "I don't know, my princess, but she's very special to us. I've already chosen the dress for the wedding. Do you think she'll like it?" Ryan laughed. "Slow down, Emma. First, we have to see if she really wants to be part of our family." When Melissa arrived, she wore a serious expression that Ryan couldn't decipher. Emma ran to hug her, but she seemed less warm than usual. "Are you okay?" asked Ryan, serving dinner. "I'm great. The stroganoff is delicious." "Thank you. I learned to make it watching videos on the internet." During dinner, Melissa observed every movement of Ryan's. When he mentioned that the electricity bill had come in high and that he would have to work overtime, she wondered if it wasn't a hint. When he complimented her new car, she thought it might be interest. "Miss Melissa, tomorrow is a presentation." "At school, are you coming?" asked Emma. "I don't know, dear. I have a lot of work." "But you promised," Emma pouted. "I promised?" "When I was in the hospital, you said you would see all my presentations." Ryan intervened. "Emma, Melissa has important responsibilities. She can't miss work because of us." "Of course she can. She's the boss, isn't she?" insisted. Emma says. Melissa felt pressured. "I'll see if I can reorganize my schedule." After dinner, Ryan put Emma to bed and returned to the living room, where Melissa was strangely quiet. "Did something happen?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Ryan, can I ask you a direct question?" "Of course. When you said you wanted to try a relationship with me, was it because you have feelings for me, or because you see me as a solution to your problems?" Ryan was shocked. "How can you ask that?" "Please. Answer." "Obviously because I have feelings for you. How can you doubt that?" "Because I'm a rich woman, Ryan. I can solve all your financial problems. Give Emma everything she wants, guarantee a comfortable future for both of you." "You think I'm after your money?" Ryan's voice rose a tone. "I don't know what to think anymore. We appear in your life, a stranger with a lot of money, and suddenly you decide you want a relationship." Ryan stood up, clearly hurt. "I can't believe you're accusing me of this." "I'm not accusing. I'm asking." "The answer is no, Melissa. I'm not after your money, but maybe you're right about us being from different worlds." "What does that mean?" "It means that maybe you'll never be able to understand that there are people who value things other than money." Melissa stood up too. "What do you mean?" "You appeared in our lives like an angel. You cared for my daughter, helped me when I needed it most, made me feel I could have a family again. But now I see you don't trust me." "Ryan, You just what? Think every lower-class man is interested in your money? That we're all opportunists?" "That's not it." "That's exactly it. You can't believe that someone like me could fall in love with someone like you for who you really are." Ryan went to the shelf and took a photo of him with Sarah. "You know what this is? It's the photo from my first date with my wife. She had money. I was poor. Everyone said I was after her money. I spent 5 years proving I wasn't, and now you make the same accusation." "I didn't." "Melissa, since you entered our lives, I've been happier. Not because of the money, but because you brought light to our home. Emma smiles more, I smile more. You make me want to be a better man." "Ryan, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to." "Yes, you did. Someone planted this doubt in your head, and you chose to believe it." Melissa lowered her head, knowing he was right. "About Marcus. Maybe it's better you go," said Ryan, his voice broken by emotion. "I don't want to go. And I don't want you to stay doubting me with every gesture I make. I can try to change." "No, Melissa." Relationships are based on trust. If you don't trust me, we have no future. Melissa picked up her purse with tears in her eyes. And Emma? Emma will understand. Children are resilient. She loves me. And I love you too, said Ryan finally, admitting his feelings. But love without trust isn't enough. Melissa left the apartment destroyed. Ryan stayed alone in the living room, looking at the table still set with the cheap flowers and dirty dishes. For the first time since Sarah had died, he truly cried. In the bedroom, Emma had heard the argument and was crying softly into her pillow. Her new mommy was leaving exactly as she had feared would happen. Ryan entered the bedroom and found her awake. "I'm sorry, my princess. It didn't work out. She's not going to be our mommy anymore." "No, dear. Sometimes people aren't meant to be together. But I like her so much, Daddy." "I do too, my princess, I do too." Melissa spent the next 3 days in total depression. She couldn't work, couldn't eat, couldn't stop thinking about the expression of pain on Ryan's face. Monica tried to cheer her up, but it was useless. "Melissa, you need to recover. You have the presentation for the Japanese investors tomorrow." "Cancel it, I'm not in any condition." "I can't cancel. They came especially for this meeting." "Fine." Thursday, Melissa forced herself to get dressed and go to work. Throughout the morning, she tried to concentrate on the numbers and graphs, but her mind was with Ryan and Emma. At 2 in the afternoon, Hannah called. "Melissa, do you have news?" "Of Ryan." "Why do you ask?" "Emma hasn't shown up at school since Tuesday. The teacher is worried." Melissa's heart raced. "Aren't they well?" "I don't know. I've tried calling several times, but no one answers." Melissa hung up in panic. She cancelled the meeting with the Japanese to Monica's despair and rushed to Eastside. She knocked on the apartment door insistently, but no one answered. "Mrs. Martinez," she shouted to the neighbor who took care of Emma, "do you know where Ryan and Emma are?" The elderly lady appeared, concerned. "Oh, my dear, I'm so glad you came. I'm very worried. I haven't seen them since Tuesday. Ryan didn't go to work, Emma didn't go to school. Could they be sick?" "Could be. I heard the girl crying a lot on Tuesday night. How strange. After you left, everything went quiet." Melissa felt a knot in her stomach. "Do you have the spare key?" "Yes, I do. Ryan gave it to me for emergencies." When they entered the apartment, they found Ryan sleeping on the sofa, surrounded by empty beer bottles. Emma was in the bedroom with a high fever, delirious. "My God!" exclaimed Melissa, running to the girl. "Emma, my dear, I'm here." "Mommy?" The girl opened her eyes, confused. "You came back?" "Yes, my princess, I'm here." Ryan woke up with the noise. When he saw Melissa, his expression mixed relief and anger. "What are you doing here?" "Emma is sick." "How long has she been like this?" "Since Tuesday night. I think it's just a cold." Melissa touched the girl's forehead. "She's burning with fever. We need to take her to the hospital." "I don't need your help," muttered Ryan, clearly inebriated. "Ryan, your daughter is sick. This is no time for pride." "Pride? You accuse me of being after your money and then come back here talking about pride." "I need to tell you something," said Melissa, picking Emma up in her arms. "But first, let's go to the hospital." At the hospital, Emma was medicated to lower the fever. Ryan was more sober but still hurt. Melissa approached him in the waiting room. "Ryan, I need to apologize, and I need to tell you the truth about some things." "What truth?" "Remember when you asked if I knew you, I lied. I did know you for a long time." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" "I was the person who paid your overdue rent. I was the one who sent the food baskets. I was the one who paid for Emma's treatment during her first hospitalization." "You?" Ryan was in shock. "Since that night at the church when I saw you two praying, I couldn't get you out of my mind. I started helping anonymously because I felt I needed to take care of you." "But why?" Melissa took a deep breath. "Because when I saw Emma asking God for a mother for you, I recognized a pain that I also felt. I lost my mother when I was 12. And since then I've been trying to fill that void with work and money." "Melissa." When you appeared in my life, I finally understood what I was looking for. It wasn't professional success. It was a family. It was the chance to be the mother I always wanted to have. Ryan remained silent, processing the information. You doubted my feelings on Tuesday, continued Melissa, but I've been doubting yours for much longer. Since the first day, I've wondered if you could love a woman who knew you even before introducing herself. I don't understand. Ryan, I fell in love with you by watching from afar, seeing how you cared for Emma, how you worked tirelessly for her, how you loved her unconditionally. I fell in love with the person you are, not with who I could mold you to be. You spied on me. Ryan's voice had a tone of betrayal. It wasn't spying. It was love at first sight. Love for a family I wanted to be part of. So all this was planned? You appeared in my life knowing exactly how to manipulate me. Melissa felt tears running down her face. It wasn't manipulation. It was desperation. Desperation of a lonely woman who found the family of her dreams and didn't know how to become part of it. My God, Melissa, you've lied to me since the first day. I lied about how we met, but I never lied about my feelings. I love you, Ryan, and I love Emma as if she were my daughter. How can I trust you after this? You can't, just as I can't trust that you love me for who I am and not for what I can offer. Ryan stood up and began pacing the waiting room. This is crazy. You built a fantasy around us. Maybe, but it was the fantasy that made me happiest in life. And now? How do we move forward knowing our entire relationship was based on lies? We start over, from scratch, with the truth. Ryan stopped pacing and faced her. Do you really think that's possible? I think it's worth trying. Emma deserves a complete family. You deserve to be loved. And I deserve a chance to prove my feelings are genuine. Daddy? Emma's weak voice interrupted the conversation. She was at the door of the room, supported by a nurse. My princess. Ryan ran to her. Where's Miss Melissa? I heard her voice. I'm here, dear, said Melissa, approaching. Have you stopped fighting? Because I need my two favorite people to be happy for me to get better. Ryan and Melissa looked at each other. In the child's innocence was the answer to all their doubts. 3 months passed since that night at the hospital. Ryan and Melissa decided to start over from scratch. Building a relationship based on truth and mutual trust, it wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, discussions about social differences, and a lot of dialogue to overcome the hurts. Ryan continued working as a delivery driver, but Melissa helped him set up a small delivery company. He initially resisted, but she explained that it wasn't charity, but an investment in someone she believed in. You have a talent for business, she said one night, reviewing the company plans. You just need an opportunity. I don't want people to think I'm using you. Ryan, couples build things together. That's what we're doing. The word couples came out naturally, and both smiled. They were finally beginning to see themselves as a unit. Emma was radiant. Her new mommy had returned, and this time she seemed to have come to stay. Melissa picked her up from school twice a week, helped her with homework, and participated in all school presentations. Ms. Melissa, when are you going to live with us? Asked Emma one Saturday afternoon while they were making cookies in the kitchen. When your daddy asks me, responded Melissa, joking. Daddy, shouted Emma, running to the living room. Can you ask Ms. Melissa to marry you? Ryan blushed. Emma, these things take time. But you already like each other, and I already like her. What else do you need? Ryan and Melissa laughed. The simplicity of children was sometimes wiser than all adult complexity. That same night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan and Melissa talked on the living room sofa. She's not wrong, said Ryan, about what else we need. Are you sure, even knowing all my lies? You lied about how we met, but you were honest about your feelings from the first day. That counts for a lot. And you? Are you sure you're not bothered by my financial situation? I'm not bothered, but I worry about Emma. I don't want her to grow up thinking money is the solution to everything. Then we'll educate her to understand that money is just a tool. What matters are values. Ryan moved closer to her. Melissa, I love you, not for what you can give me, but for who you are. You brought light to our lives. And you gave me a purpose I didn't even know I was looking for. Us into. They kissed for the first time, a kiss full of promises and hope. 2 months later, on a Sunday afternoon, Ryan took Melissa and Emma for a picnic at Riverside Park. He had a plan he had been preparing for weeks. "Daddy, why are you so nervous?" asked Emma, playing on the grass. "I'm not nervous." "Yes, you are. You're like when you have to talk to the school principal." Melissa laughed. "She knows you well." Ryan took a deep breath. "Melissa, can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Do you really want to be part of our family? More than anything in the world?" Ryan knelt on the grass, taking a small box from his pocket. "Then will you marry me?" Melissa covered her mouth with her hands, emotional. "Ryan, it's not an expensive ring," he said, embarrassed. "I bought it with the money I managed to save from the company." "It's perfect," said Melissa with tears in her eyes. "Yes, I accept." "Hooray!" shouted Emma, jumping with joy. "Now I'm going to have a real mommy." Ryan placed the ring on Melissa's finger, and she kissed him with all the strength of her love. "Thank you for giving me a family," she whispered. "Thank you for completing ours," he responded. Emma ran to hug them both. "Can I call you Mommy now?" "How you can, my princess," responded Melissa, hugging the girl with all the maternal love she had stored for so many years. 6 months later, in a simple ceremony at the church in Washington Square, Ryan and Melissa got married. Emma was the flower. Girl, radiant in a pink dress she had chosen herself. Hannah was the maid of honor, and some work colleagues of both attended. During the ceremony, Ryan looked at Melissa and remembered the first time he had seen her in that same church. She was in the last pew, alone and lost. Now she was by his side, smiling with a happiness that illuminated the entire church. "You may kiss the bride," said the priest. When they kissed, Emma applauded enthusiastically. "Now we're a real family." After the ceremony, they went to Melissa's apartment in Westbrook, which would now be the home of the new family. Ryan had initially resisted the move, but Melissa explained that what mattered wasn't where they lived, but how they lived. "We'll transform this house into a home," she said, watching Emma run through the spacious rooms. "It's already a home," responded Ryan, hugging his wife, "because you're here." That night, after Emma fell asleep in her new room, Ryan and Melissa stood on the balcony, observing the lights of Portland. "Any regrets?" asked Ryan. "None. And you?" "None either. Just one question. Do you think Sarah would have approved?" Melissa smiled. "I'm sure she would. She wanted you to be happy." "And you? Do you think your mother would have liked us?" "She would have loved Emma immediately and would have seen in you the good man I see." Ryan kissed Melissa's forehead. "Thank you for not giving up on us." "Thank you for giving me the chance to prove my love." From a distance, they didn't imagine that in a window of the bedroom, a 6-year-old girl was watching her adoptive parents with a satisfied smile. Her prayers had been answered. God had truly sent a mommy for them. Emma returned to bed, hugged her new doll and whispered, "Thank you, God. Now we're a complete family." Outside, the city continued its nightly routine, but inside that apartment, 3 hearts beat in unison, finally at peace. Melissa had found her family, Ryan had found love again, and Emma had found the mother she had always dreamed of having. Life wouldn't be perfect. There would be challenges and difficulties, but they would face everything together, because now they had what they had always searched for: a family based on true love, mutual understanding, and the certainty that, together, they could overcome any obstacle. And so, 3 lonely souls became a united family, proving that true. Love knows no social barriers. That family is chosen with the heart, and that sometimes angels reach us when we least expect, dressed as ordinary people, but carrying the gift of transforming lives forever. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe.